You've been fasting 16 hours a day, waiting for your body to change, watching the scale obsessively, but nothing seems to happen. Meanwhile, someone tells you about OmAD, 1 meal a day, 23 hours of fasting, and they swear it's the ultimate shortcut to burning fat and living longer. But here's what nobody tells you. Your body doesn't respond to these two methods the same way at all. In fact, if you choose the wrong one for your unique biology, you're not just wasting weeks or months of effort. You could actually be raising your blood sugar, breaking down your own muscle tissue, spiking your stress hormones, and feeling exhausted every single day without understanding why. This isn't a small mistake. This is your metabolism working against you because you didn't know the rules it plays by. So today, we're going deep into the biological reality of what actually happens inside your body when you fast for 16 hours versus 23 hours. We're talking insulin responses, ketone production, brain chemistry, muscle preservation, and even the surprising evolutionary reason why your mind becomes sharper when you're hungry, not weaker. This isn't just another fasting video filled with vague advice. This is a complete biological map designed to help you choose the method that actually fits your life, your goals, and your body's real needs. If you're confused about whether 16/8 or OmAD is right for you, stay with us, because by the end of this, you'll know exactly what to do. And if this video helps you finally understand your own metabolism, hit that subscribe button, because every single week, we bring you science-backed content that's fun, simple, and clearer than anything else you'll find online. Before we compare fasting methods, you need to understand one fundamental truth about your body. Your body doesn't burn fat just because you're eating fewer calories. That's a myth that's been repeated so many times people accept it as fact. The reality is far more precise. Your body only burns fat when the biological conditions inside you allow it to happen. And the single biggest factor controlling that condition is a hormone called insulin. Now, insulin isn't evil. It's not your enemy. It's simply your body's strongest signal that says food has arrived, so store this energy for later. Every single time you eat, especially when you eat carbohydrates or sugar, glucose floods into your bloodstream. Your pancreas immediately responds by releasing insulin, which acts like a key, unlocking your cells so glucose can enter and be used for energy. But here's the critical part. When insulin levels are elevated, your body is locked into storage mode. Fat burning becomes biologically impossible. Your fat cells are sealed shut like vaults with heavy locks, and they won't open until insulin drops significantly. This is why eating every few hours, even small snacks, keeps insulin elevated all day long, and your body never gets the signal to unlock those fat stores. It's not about willpower, it's about hormones. Only after a long enough break from food does insulin finally drop low enough for your body to open the vault. That's when something remarkable begins to happen. First, your body taps into the sugar that's been stored in your liver, a form of glucose called glycogen. But your liver can only store about 80 to 100 grams of glycogen, which is roughly enough energy to fuel a light morning jog or a few hours of activity. After about 10 to 14 hours without food, that glycogen supply runs low, and that's the moment when the metabolic switch flips. This is the point where your body shifts from burning glucose to burning fat. Your fat cells finally start releasing fatty acids into your bloodstream, sending them straight to your liver. And here's where it gets fascinating. The liver doesn't just burn that fat, it transforms those fatty acids into a completely different kind of fuel called ketones. Ketones are clean, stable, and incredibly efficient, especially for your brain. In this state, you're not just burning fat for weight loss, you're fundamentally changing how your entire system operates. Your brain, which normally runs on glucose, begins to switch over to ketones as its primary energy source. And this is where people start to notice something unexpected. Many describe this state as a kind of super clarity, sharper focus, faster thinking, deeper concentration, the ability to work for hours without distraction. And this isn't just a psychological feeling or a placebo effect. This is actual evolutionary biology at work. Think about it. Our ancestors often went long stretches without food. If their brains became foggy and slow during hunger, they wouldn't have been able to hunt, gather, or solve problems. They would have died out. So the human body evolved to become sharper during fasting, not weaker. Hunger wasn't a sign of weakness. It was a biological trigger for heightened awareness and mental performance. This process is driven by the production of a protein called BDNF, which stands for brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF acts like fertilizer for your brain. It helps neurons grow, form new connections, and repair damage. It improves memory, learning, mood regulation, and even protects your brain from age-related decline. So fasting isn't just some trendy weight loss hack. It's a biological switch that activates your body's ancient intelligence, the intelligence that kept your ancestors alive in times of scarcity. But here's the key. You only flip that metabolic switch if you go long enough without eating. And that's exactly why 16/8 fasting and OmAD produce completely different outcomes, even though both are technically called intermittent fasting. With 16/8 fasting, you get roughly 2 to 6 hours per day in fat-burning mode per day, depending on what you ate the night before. With OmAD, you could be in fat-burning mode for 8 to 10 hours or even longer. But time isn't the only factor here. The way your body reacts to one massive meal versus several smaller meals throughout the day is completely different, and this is where we start to see the real contrast between the sustainability of 16/8 and the metabolic shock that comes with OmAD. The 16/8 fasting method isn't just about skipping breakfast to save time or cutting calories. It's a deliberate biological rhythm, a daily switch that moves your body from storage mode into fat-burning mode every single day. And the beauty of it is that it works silently, consistently, and without requiring 2-hour gym sessions or expensive supplements. Here's how it works. After your last meal, insulin stays elevated for a few hours. During this time, your body is still burning glucose from your bloodstream and tapping into the glycogen stored in your liver. But after 10 to 14 hours, those glycogen stores begin to run low. That's when the metabolic switch flips. With no more glucose available, your body has no choice but to turn to fat for energy. Fat gets broken down from your fat cells and then converted by the liver into ketones. This is clean, efficient fuel for both your body and your brain. This 2 to 6 hour daily window of fat burning is your biological sweet spot. Day after day, your body becomes more efficient at switching between fuel sources. You become more insulin sensitive, meaning your cells respond to insulin better, which is critical if you're dealing with insulin resistance, pre-diabetes, or stubborn belly fat. Studies have shown that after just a few weeks on 16/8 fasting, people experience significant drops in fasting glucose and insulin levels. Their cells become more responsive, their energy stabilizes, and their cravings for sugar and junk food decrease dramatically. Another major benefit is muscle preservation. Contrary to the common myth that fasting eats away at your muscle, the opposite is actually true. Fasting increases growth hormone levels, which helps your body maintain lean muscle mass while prioritizing fat as the primary fuel source. That's why many athletes, bodybuilders, and fitness enthusiasts use 16/8 as a natural strategy to cut fat while keeping their muscle intact. Perhaps the biggest advantage of 16/8 is that it fits into real life. You can still eat 2 or even 3 meals within your 8-hour eating window. Let's say you eat from noon to 8 p.m. That's lunch at 12, a snack at 3 or 4, and dinner by 7 or 8. You're not starving yourself. You're not skipping family dinners. You're just stopping late-night snacking and giving your body time to rest and repair.
16-8 also improves sleep quality. When you stop eating after 8 p.m., your body isn't busy digesting food while you're trying to rest. Melatonin flows more freely. Insulin doesn't interfere with your sleep cycles, and many people report sleeping deeper and waking up more refreshed within just 1 week of starting this routine.
But 16-8 isn't perfect for everyone. For some people, especially if their dinner is loaded with carbohydrates, 16 hours might not be long enough to fully flip the metabolic switch. Their bodies might still be running primarily on sugar instead of entering ketosis. Others fall into the trap of overeating during the 8-hour window, thinking they can eat whatever they want because they fasted. But if those meals are full of processed foods, sugar, and empty calories, the benefits of fasting get canceled out. Fasting isn't magic. It amplifies good habits, but it doesn't erase bad ones. What you eat still matters just as much as when you eat. And yes, the first week can be tough. You might feel hungry, irritable, or mentally foggy as your body adjusts to switching fuel sources. But within a few days, the fog clears. Your body remembers an ancient strategy it was built to use: burning fat instead of constantly chasing sugar. If 16-8 is like easing onto the metabolic highway, OmAD is like slamming the gas pedal all the way down. It forces your body into prolonged fat burning, raises ketone levels dramatically, and triggers deep cellular repair. But it also brings massive metabolic shifts that require caution, preparation, and honestly, a lot of mental discipline. OmAD stands for 1 meal a day, and it means exactly that. You fast for 23 hours straight and eat all your food within a 1-hour window. This gives your liver more than enough time to completely deplete glycogen stores, forcing your body to switch almost entirely to fat as its primary fuel source. In this state, ketone levels rise significantly higher than they would on 16-8. That's why many people on OmAD report feeling incredibly sharp, energized, and surprisingly not hungry once their brain fully adapts to using ketones. But here's where things get complicated. When you finally break your fast, you're not just having a snack, you're trying to consume your entire daily intake of calories, protein, fiber, vitamins, and minerals all within 1 hour. This causes a massive insulin spike. After 23 hours of near-zero insulin, your pancreas suddenly has to handle a huge influx of glucose, protein, and fat all at once. The swing from deep fasting to deep feeding creates what some researchers called hormonal whiplash. Your body goes from ketosis and fat burning to a sudden storage mode in minutes. And here's something that surprises most people. Some expect OmAD to lower their blood sugar, but studies have shown the opposite can happen. Morning fasting glucose may actually rise higher in people doing OmAD compared to those eating 3 balanced meals a day. Why? Because one massive meal takes a long time to fully process. By the next morning, your body might still be clearing glucose from last night's feast. On top of that, eating such a large amount of food in one sitting often causes digestive discomfort. Bloating, indigestion, acid reflux, and even insomnia are common complaints. Your gut, which is used to processing smaller meals spread throughout the day, suddenly has to handle everything at once. And getting enough of the right nutrients becomes incredibly difficult. Protein, B vitamins, fiber, magnesium, potassium. Trying to hit all your daily nutritional needs in one meal is a real challenge. Many people on OmAD end up nutrient deficient without realizing it. Beyond that, OmAD demands serious mental discipline and a lifestyle that supports it. If you have social dinners, family routines, work lunches, or a job that requires focus throughout the day, OmAD can become socially isolating and mentally exhausting. It's no surprise that research shows about 65% of people quit OmAD within 3 to 6 weeks because it's simply too hard to maintain. But that doesn't mean OmAD is wrong or dangerous for everyone. For people who are already experienced with fasting, who eat clean, whole foods, who monitor their nutrient intake carefully, and who are seeking rapid, short-term fat loss under medical supervision, OmAD can be a powerful tool. It can break through weight loss plateaus,
burns stubborn fat, and triggers stronger autophagy, which is your body's process of cleaning out damaged cells and regenerating new ones. The bottom line is this: OmAD isn't inherently bad, it's just not for everyone. And if you're torn between wanting fast results and maintaining long-term health, remember this: real transformation doesn't come from extremes, it comes from consistency. It comes from choosing something you can actually stick with, not something that sounds impressive but burns you out in 3 weeks. One of the biggest myths people believe about fasting is this: no food equals no energy, which equals brain fog, fatigue, and poor focus. It sounds logical on the surface, but it's biologically incorrect. Dr. Mark Mattson, a neuroscientist at Johns Hopkins with over 25 years of fasting research, has shown that ketones, the byproducts of fat burning, aren't just fuel for your brain, they're actually brain boosters. When your liver starts producing ketones after glycogen runs low, your brain doesn't go into survival mode or shut down. It actually becomes more efficient, more focused, and more resilient. Why? Because ketones trigger the release of that protein we mentioned earlier, BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor. BDNF doesn't give you a jolt like caffeine does. It works subtly but profoundly over time. It helps neurons grow new branches, strengthens the connections between different brain regions, shields neurons from oxidative stress, and boosts memory, learning capacity, and emotional regulation. In other words, ketones don't just power your brain, they upgrade it. No wonder so many people, once they hit deep fat-burning mode, which typically happens after 16 or more hours of fasting, describe the exact same experience. They say things like, "My mental clarity is clearer than I have in years. I can focus for hours without needing coffee. My mood feels more balanced and stable." This isn't a placebo effect. This is neurobiology in action. From an evolutionary perspective, it makes perfect sense. If early humans mentally collapsed every time they got hungry, our species would never have survived. Instead, during times of food scarcity, the brain was forced to become sharper, quicker, more alert, and more creative because survival depended on it. And ketones were the perfect fuel for that state: stable, long-lasting, and crash-free. Dr. Mattson coined the term metabolic switching to describe this process, and he emphasizes that the real benefits don't come from fasting all the time or eating all the time. They come from cycling between the two. During fasting, your body shifts into repair mode. Autophagy kicks in. Cells clean out damage and regenerate. During eating, your body returns to growth, recovery, and nutrient rebuilding. This rhythm, this ancient biological alternation, is what modern intermittent fasting mimics, and that's why protocols like 16-8 and OmAD, when used wisely and appropriately, don't drain your brain, they sharpen it, they support it, and they reawaken neural potential that's been dormant for years. Now let's get practical. Not everyone should fast for 23 hours a day, and not everyone will get the same results from 16-8. The human body is a highly individualized biological system. It responds to food, hormones, stress, and routines differently for each person. So the key isn't to choose whichever method sounds the most extreme or impressive. The key is to choose the one that fits where you are right now and where you actually want to go. If you're just starting out, or if you're transitioning from a routine of eating 3 to 5 times a day, 16-8 is the safer, more effective, and far less stressful for your endocrine system. A study from the American Nutrition Institute in 2023 found that beginners who started with 16-8 had an 82% success rate in the first 3 weeks, compared to only 38% for those who jumped straight into OmAD. That's because 16-8 allows your body to gradually adapt to fat metabolism without overwhelming your digestion, mood, or energy levels. On top of that, if you live a normal social lifestyle, if you work in an office, have lunch with coworkers, or eat dinner with your family, 16-8 fits seamlessly into real life. You can have your black coffee in the morning, eat lunch at noon, have dinner by 7 or 8 p.m., and be done. No need to explain yourself to anyone, no awkward moments at family gatherings. People who exercise regularly are also encouraged to start with 16-8 because it allows you to time your meals around your workouts to support muscle recovery and performance. According to research published in Frontiers in Sports and Active Living in 2024, those following 16-8 retained significantly more lean muscle mass compared to OmAD users, thanks to better protein distribution throughout the day.
On the other hand, OmAD should never be your starting point. It's a method better suited for people who are already experienced with fasting, whose bodies have learned to efficiently burn fat and use ketones as a primary energy source. People who have been doing 16-8 for a few months, who have lowered their fasting glucose, stabilized their energy, and can manage hunger well, may consider OmAD as an advanced progression. But even then, OmAD should ideally be done with medical supervision, especially for people with pre-existing health conditions like high blood pressure, liver or kidney concerns, or anyone taking medication. The insulin and glucose swings that happen after eating one massive meal are no joke. Without professional guidance, they can spiral out of control and cause serious harm. OmAD is absolutely not recommended for pregnant or breastfeeding women who need a steady supply of energy and nutrients. It's not for people with type 1 diabetes or anyone on insulin therapy. It's not for underweight individuals, people with a history of disordered eating, including binging, restricting, or obsessive food behaviors. And it's not for children or teenagers who are still in critical growth and development stages. It's important to understand that OmAD is not a willpower challenge. It's not a badge of honor or a test of discipline. It's a biological tool, and if it's misapplied, it can backfire badly. You can end up with elevated cortisol and chronic fatigue, disrupted sleep and blood sugar crashes in the middle of the night, increased obsession with food, and cycles of guilt. Meanwhile, 16-8 tends to place far less stress on the HPA axis, which is your brain, pituitary, adrenal stress circuit. This makes it much better tolerated by people with sensitive hormone responses, including women going through perimenopause or menopause. That's why so many people, especially women, report better mental clarity, more stable moods, and better physical outcomes with 16-8 compared to longer fasting protocols. And let's not forget that your personality and your relationship with food also matter. If you tend toward emotional eating or stress-based snacking, OmAD can become a dangerous loop. You fast all day, then binge at night. That causes a massive insulin spike and mental crash. You feel guilty, so the next day you try to fast even harder, and the cycle repeats. Smart health choices aren't about chasing trends or copying what influencers do. They're about knowing your own body, starting from a sustainable baseline, and staying consistent long enough to see real change. You might begin with 16-8 for 3 months, feel amazing, and never need to do OmAD at all. Or you might experiment with 18-6 or 24 once a week as a metabolic reset without disrupting your hormones. In the end, the real key isn't how many hours you fast, it's the quality of your consistency. Fasting should be a mindful, intentional lifestyle choice, not a competition to see who can suffer the most or go the longest without eating. One of the most important things that health videos rarely mention is this: you don't need to do